Hi everyone. This is Dr. I here. I'm the founder of uh, Classroom Without Walls. And in this training, I will share with you 5 reasons that educators need to embrace social media, specifically live video. And before I dive into the specific reasons, and I want to do a quick introduction so that you know where I come from, so that my story can become your story, can become more relatable to you. So let's get started. I'm going to do a quick screen share. Give me a second. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Classroom Without Walls, and we are talking about 5 reasons educators, you watching this right now, need to embrace live video. And so this is where I came from. I actually grew up in China. I came to the United States in my early 20s to study and to really get as many degrees as possible. So I went to Syracuse. I got my master's degree. And after that, I went to the University of Maryland, where I got my PhD. And here I worked with more than 2,000 students on their career and life, fulfillment, career success. And I also enjoy being silly with my students. I also traveled and taught globally for a few years, but most of the time in the United States. And today I no longer teach on the traditional classroom stage where you will hear my story and discover my why. And I serve as an Adobe education leader. And I'm also a HubSpot Academy instructor. I helped them on some of their social media, Twitter classes. And also my work got featured on Forbes and Today's Show and Inside Higher Education, Pearson Education. I also got voted last year as a top 4 among the top 25 socially influential learning professionals, which was such a great honor last year when I got it. And also I got featured on a bunch of different publications and stories like that. And today, as I mentioned earlier, I no longer teach on the traditional classroom stage. I serve also, besides running my own school, Classroom Without Walls, I also serve as a consultant, and I also speak on stage. And this is me. I was doing a keynote, and my son, he was taking pictures and videos for me in the audience. Very nice. But most importantly, I'm a mom. I have 2 children. I am passionate about education and figure out ways how we can make education and learning more fun, more relevant, and at the same time, help our children develop 21st century skills so that they can be prepared for the future, not for the past. And this is really how my story got started. And if you think, oh wow, you just dropped a bunch of names, your life seems to be pretty amazing, you are wrong. This is not how my story got started. And so this picture, I'll be embarrassed to show you. My husband actually captured this picture. And this was me a few years into my teaching career. I was really, really depressed. And every single semester, I cried so much with my students and for my students. And the big reason was that I discovered the old way of teaching and serving our students no longer working. The sage on the stage model was so broken. My students, they suffered a lot, and they don't really care about the journey, and they mainly care about the outcome, meaning an A, a B, their GPA, and that piece of paper, the degree, diploma. To them, that is learning. But to me, the journey is the learning. I don't understand how can you not care about the journey, but only care about how many A's are you receiving, how many B's are you receiving. And that really hurts me a lot as a teacher, because I'm sure if you are a teacher watching this right now, you really care about your students' success, and you spend so much time preparing your course license, videos, this and that, homework, exercises, activities, and you want them to really enjoy the learning, enjoy the content. But when you're here, when you see in front of your eyes that they couldn't care less about the journey, if you just give them an A, they're more than happy to drop the class, not even showing up. And I really became very obsessed with this problem. I was like, what was wrong? And I took the blame, personally. Instead of pointing fingers at this and that, I took the blame personally. I was like, you know what? I was the problem. So I was teaching public relations classes, communication classes, and then later, as social media has become a lot more popular, I started to teach more personal branding, digital PR, like social media classes. And I noticed, not just me, many teachers, and as I was teaching social media, I was not practicing social media myself. So that was a big aha moment. And since that moment, I decided to radically change how I approach social media. I finally made the decision to walk my talk as a social media, as a PR professor. So meaning everything I taught my students in the classroom, I started to do the same thing myself. And this is where social media came in and live streaming came in. And I started to become really active on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on different social media platforms. And specifically, I launched a live streaming show quite a few years ago. And the goal at the time was really, again, to be a better teacher, to really solve this educational problem. How can I make my students be more interested in the journey of learning as opposed to the grade that they are going to receive at the end of the semester? And quite a few years ago, I launched my very first live streaming show. And for that particular show, I interview, which I'm going to discuss for a second, I interview professionals and I do this and that. And to my great surprise, as I was, trying to become a better teacher using social media, building my personal brand to show my students how to create content online, and also how to use live streaming as a way to really break down the classroom walls. As I was doing that, my life is like different. My life was literally being transformed as a result of what I was doing online. And so I think now is you kind of know my story, and this is the story. This is the beginning to lead to where I am today, which is my resignation from my associate professor position to where I am today, and building my own school, Classroom Without Walls, and serving as a speaker and a consultant and doing so many things. So now I'm going to share with you the 5 reasons, and I hope those 5 reasons can really spark your interest. And if you are an educator watching this right now, maybe you are thinking about to improve your own classroom teaching, or maybe you are thinking about transitioning out of academia and to diversify your income stream. And the 5 reasons that I am about to share with you can help you do that, can really help you rethink about this, classroom learning, and rethink social media, and especially rethink live streaming, and how powerful this is, not just for traditional digital marketers, but also for educators like us. So are you ready? Let's get started. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want you to see my face. Now, just you probably have already sat through quite a few PowerPoint slides, and I don't want to do that. So let's talk about the first reason, which is to build a global network. Hope you can see, yeah. build a, hold on. Build a global network to build a global network to enrich classroom discussion. And this is, again, I love sharing personal stories. I hope those stories can really help you understand where I came from, where I used to be, and how social media, specifically speaking, how live streaming has really benefited my career to bring my life to a new level. And so the first one is to really build a global network. And for me, as a teacher, it is very important for my students to not only learn from me, the sage on the stage, but also very important for my students to learn from all the amazing professionals like you watching this video right now. It is very important to me for my students to learn from everybody else. And so here's the story. Before I became really active online on social media, every single semester, I really struggled with finding guest speakers to come to my classes. So as a result, I think I had about like 3 people I relied on those 3 practitioners every single semester. So can you imagine, after a few years, the same people coming to my classes over and over, and they got so tired of me? Of course, right? At the same time, I also got tired of them listening to the same stories over and over. And I really struggle with that. I know how important it is for my students to learn from practitioners, but I struggled with finding professionals to come to my class. But guess what? After I started embracing social media, becoming really active online every single semester, I had a waiting list of people who wanted to speak to my students. And I'm not just talking about average professionals. I'm talking about people who are charging 20K an hour, 30,000 an hour for their keynote, for their service. And all those people, they were like raising their hands. Hey, Dr. I want to speak to your students. I want to come to your class in person or virtually. I was like, oh my God, this was crazy. And so that was really a big turning point in my teaching career. So it all started with me embracing social media and embracing live streaming and putting myself out there. So that is reason number 1, build a global network to enrich classroom discussion. And the second one is it's actually for you, for teachers. So the second one is to have more impact and income. Reason number 2, maybe I'm going to use a different color. Generate more impact and income. And as a teacher, I came from that background myself. I actually taught in the classroom for 10 plus years. And oftentimes we don't really think about how much money we're making, which I totally understand. And oftentimes we're thinking about the impact that we're generating and how many students we're changing their lives. How many lives are we changing and how much impact are we generating, are we producing on the next generation, and maybe even on professionals and the impact on the community, all those things. So if that is what you are thinking about on live streaming and social media in general, is a perfect way to help you generate more income, generate more impact, okay? And what we do as academics is that we write publications, right? Especially if you are teaching in higher education, which is my space. And one thing that we are required to do for our tenure and promotion is to produce academic publications. peer-reviewed journal articles, publish, research. And I did quite a few publications, dozens of, and it was really interesting for me to realize as I was doing academic publications, I rarely receive a message from another person telling me that, hey, I really loved this article you published. In fact, I don't even think that many people are reading my academic journal publications. I think those publications are just on the shelf collecting dust, or for other people who need to become tenured and promoted, they are reading my publications. But at the same time, I was doing that, and I noticed something really interestingly happened as I was building my online presence, again with the intention to become a better teacher. My online presence was reaching out to so many people from Australia, people from the UK, people from Singapore, from Jamaica, from Nigeria. I was like, oh my God, from Israel, from Germany, this was incredible. And especially after I launched my live streaming show, almost every single day, I got a message from someone telling me, hey, Dr. I love this interview with blah, 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 really changed my life. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And because I'm now used to that level of engagement, think about what I shared with you earlier. My academic publication, I don't ever hear much from other people who are reading my papers, but for my online social media presence through my live streaming shows, people are messaging me on a daily basis, telling me how much they enjoyed my content. And to an educator, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love the impact that I'm creating. I love changing people's lives. I mean, who doesn't, right? And I was like, wow, this was really interesting. And besides that, as I was producing more impact and changing more people's lives, becoming more visible, and very interesting things started to happen to me. Speaking engagement and consulting and personal coaching, they all start to come to me. I'm talking about paid. So at that time, I was still very used to this like one income. I was like, wow, I'm actually making additional income, diversifying my income stream. That was really amazing. And so if you are, I know, as a teacher, we are very underpaid. We really don't make that much money. And even that, and I know in higher education, we are only paid for 10 months out of 12 months a year, summer break, winter break. So if you are thinking about diversifying your income streams, if you are thinking about transitioning outside of academia, now it is the best time to embrace social media and to embrace live streaming. And that's literally what happened to me after I started to see how what I am doing outside of the traditional school environment was generating so much impact and income. I was like, wow, it is time for me to do something bigger. That's how I got inspired to build my own school, which is kind of a different story. But this is the second one. And as a result of embracing social media and live streaming, and you are going to have more income and impact. So, and now I'm going to share the third reason. And this is something that I think most educators can relate to. As a teacher, what we want to enhance student engagement. When they come to a class, we want them to be, hey, Dr. I, teach us more. I'm really interested in learning more. You want to enhance student engagement. And so that is a third reason. The third reason is to enhance student engagement and learning outcomes. So I'm going to go back to share my screen because I did prepare a few slides I want to share with you to show you how specifically I have incorporated social media, especially live streaming into my classroom to enhance student engagement. Where is my screen? Oh, here. And you really have to understand today's learners, today's students, they are digital learners, as you can see in the center. So the old school approach is on the left, the teacher, educator on the stage, sage on the stage, really passive, classroom centered. But the new, which is on the right side of the screen, is really self-directed learning, self-paced learning, adaptive learning. And if you look at the center, digital first, social media first, and that's how our students learn. And in fact, last year there is a study that came out showing that our students actually prefer to learn through watching YouTube videos than reading their books. I can totally understand, right? Books, many of them are kind of boring. It's not interactive. It's just one person is dictating, is lecturing on you. And it is just not as engaging as watching YouTube videos. And because of those reasons, when you are actually incorporating, especially live streaming, video content into your classes, your students are naturally going to be like, wow, this is my space. This is how I'm comfortable with. This is how I actually consume content. I love this. They are going to be like, hey, give me more. So I have some examples to share with you. And I have been teaching online classes for quite a few years. And as you can see, this is literally a screenshot I took out of, I think in my Facebook group. I create a Facebook group for every single class I teach. And so this is just one comment from a student that really caught my attention and made me feel quite sad. So you can see the last sentence and understand why I felt so depressed after reading this sentence. And so the student, she mentioned that almost every single semester, every online class she took, she had to drop the class because she was not engaged. And the reason she is doing okay in my class was actually because I use live streaming, I use video to humanize who I am as a teacher, to really interact with my students and to engage them to be where they are. And so this is really a powerful example, and I'm only showing one example here with you, but I started to hear after I embraced live streaming and social media video content into my classes, and I started to hear similar comments from many, many students. And so here is an example of one semester, me, my university, my school, my class, and two other different universities in the United States. We did a collaborative learning project. So the students, they did a job analysis on LinkedIn. So what happened was all the students, we literally had, I think, 200 or 300 students participate in this. So they all went to LinkedIn to do a job search under public relations and social media. That's the class they were taking. So then they compiled the job search results and analyzed the data and discovered some compelling themes. So after that, where you see right now on the screen is the last phase of the homework, where me and in the center of the screen is a student from different university. So we actually partner up. We interviewed a professional in the industry to kind of validate some of the themes, some of the patterns that we discovered, the students discovered after they did the job search analysis assignment on LinkedIn. And it was a fascinating activity because we had at least 300 students joined us live. They were like, wow, this is so amazing. This is the first time we were actually using live streaming as a learning platform. And also, this was the first time that we are using live streaming to interact with students from different countries. Very remarkable feedback from the students. And so here's another one in my own class. And in the center, a Queen, he is my student, and on the left, Gerlin, she is a professional. So she is very good on LinkedIn. And so I invited her to come to my class and to talk about how she has been using LinkedIn to secure so many like internships and jobs. She didn't even apply to a single job. So when my students heard that story, they were like, oh my God, this is crazy. And also what you see, the highlight in the red color rectangle is Robin. She is actually an editor at Forbes. So during the live, she actually joined my live streaming show. And my students, they were like, oh my God, I actually mentioned, hey guys, Robin is a contributor, an editor at Forbes. You guys need to connect with her. And students, they loved networking. And this is what I love live streaming so much, because you are literally sharing your personal professional network with your students. Robin is in my network, but because I went live and she saw me going live, my students are also watching me at the same time. Literally, I became the bridge to connect my students and the professionals in the industry. And it was such an amazing experience. And quite a few of my students reach out to her and they build a beautiful professional relationship. And this is another case that, again, I do lots of live streaming interviews in my classes. So the young boy you see on the left, Brennan, and he started his business when he was 13 years old and grow his business into a 7-figure business by the time he was only 17 years old. So I want to find examples from people that my students can relate to. So I brought him to my class and he shared his story. My students, they were like, oh my God, like all of a sudden, not just listening to me to talk about personal branding, live streaming, social media, but there is a guy, a young man that they can relate to who has a similar story. They were like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And they really loved watching those interviews. And I believe this is the last example. So I had Mark Schaefer. Those of you who don't know him, Mark is a really well-known social media strategist and keynote speaker. I really love Mark as a mentor, as a role model. I look up to him. So he agreed to talk to my students about building personal brand. And again, I did this as a live streaming show. My students loved this. Just for this particular interview, we had people, not just students, but professionals from 40 plus countries. They joined us live from the US, UK, Nigeria, Japan, Australia, students, educators, and professionals. It is an amazing experience. It's a global collaboration. And here, Samantha, my student, she loved it so much. She shared it on her social media network. And guess what happens? When she shared this, and people in her network saw this live interview, people actually reach out to me, and some of my students even shared the interview with their parents, which is again another level of collaboration. Not just collaboration between students in your class, but collaboration outside the class at a national, international, and global level. And so this is another student who loved the interview so much that she actually sent me an email telling me how much she enjoyed watching this live interview. And here again, a student doing a Twitter shout out, sharing with us how much he enjoyed the interview. And as you think about this, and as educators, as you are like, as all the students are giving you a shout out, sharing your class, guess what? This is digital footprint for you, for us, social proof, right? And this student, hold on, I think I forgot, I inserted different, a picture. Actually, this particular student, he even gave me a big shout out, and he was like, wow, I wish all of my classes were taught this way, using social media, using live streaming. And he said that everyone check out Dr. I, amazing professor. And I loved it, right? And more additional like social proof, going back to the second point that we talked about, you know, more income, more impact. Students, the best testimonial come from others. When students are bragging about you, that is the best. So I really enjoy that. The publicity, I also, most importantly, I really enjoyed seeing how much my students enjoy this type of learning. And point number 4, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And point number 4 is to actually bridge the gap. Number 4 is to bridge the gap between academia and industry. Bridge the gap between academia and industry. This is a big problem, especially for students getting to the high school level, getting to the college level. And our goal is to really help those students develop who they are and get ready for life. And last year, a very comprehensive study came out showing that 73% of organizations, they actually struggle to find qualified college grads. And that is a pretty high percentage, 73%, more than half. They really struggle with that. At the same time, another study suggested our students, they are not prepared for life. College has not yet prepared them for life. And one reason is really the gap between industry and practice. And think about the example I shared earlier. When you are using social media to break down the learning barriers, the physical walls, all those amazing professionals, Seth Godin, Mark Schaefer, and so many amazing people have come to my live streaming classroom. My students learned so much, and they also networked so much with all those professionals. Not only they are networking, at the same time, I'm networking. As I was working on my classes, at the same time, I'm also developing my own personal network. And as I grow my network, guess what? And I am bringing in more additional amazing professionals into the classroom. As I grow, my class network grow. As the network grows and more internship, more job opportunities have come to the class as a result of me putting myself out there, as a result of me embracing social media to interview all those amazing professionals. And it is definitely a win-win situation. And even and nowadays for my own show, it is very common that I have people from at least 10 countries joined me live. And I recently interviewed Duncan Wardle, who is the former VP of innovation at Disney. And he shared something that is really profound. And I want to share it with you, which is diversity is innovation. So if you can figure out a way to use live streaming to make your classroom more diverse, you are really helping your students become more creative, become more innovative. And the best part is social media is free. It costs me nothing to host all those live streaming shows. It costs me nothing to bring in all those professionals. So that's reason number 4. And the last reason that I will stop is to reason number 5 is to really and the last reason that educators need to embrace social media and live streaming is to really help our students develop 21st century skills. And I say this because there is a big misperception. Remember how what I shared earlier, students, they are digital learners. They prefer to watch videos and to watch YouTube videos. That is really true. But many people, educators and parents and leaders, we make the assumption that students, because they have grown up with social media and technology, they are intuitively digitally savvy. They know how to use social media for this and for that. It is not completely true. Like our students, they know how to use social media to passively consume, watch YouTube videos and Netflix videos and send a message to their friends, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all those things. They know how to do that, but they don't know how to use social media as a learning as a networking, as a personal branding, as a business development platform. They have no idea. And so let me just share this, share my screen real quick. And so this is actually, and this is actually a screenshot I took from an article published last year on New York Times. And this article talks about digital learning. So as you can see from the top, from the screenshot here, you know, we just assume, we call the students digital natives, but they have to be taught in order to learn how to use social media as a learning platform, as a learning, as an educational tool. If we don't teach them, they have no idea, because in their entire life, they have been using social media for socializing, for networking with their friends, their peers. They haven't learned how to use social media to produce content, to build their personal brand. So I see this in my classes every single semester now at my own school, Classroom Without Walls, and with the teachers I'm consulting with, the schools I'm working with. This is a big issue. Students have no idea how to use social media to create. This is a 21st century skill, which is very missing in the traditional school curriculum. And in fact, LinkedIn Learning, they published an article at the beginning of this year. So on that article, they had a list of soft skills and hard skills that most companies need in 2020. Under hard skills, they have marketing, video production, and when you think about it, those are digital literacy, those are digital skills. And our students, regardless of their major, maybe you are a doctor, maybe you are a lawyer, maybe you are a school teacher, regardless of what you do, you will need a personal brand. You will need how to do this type of teaching. You will need to understand how you can leverage live streaming, for example, to showcase who you are, to showcase your skills and knowledge. Don't just tell me what you know, but show me. And so you probably cannot see the screenshot on the second one. So this is an email a student sent to me. I was actually shocked. So he told me, like, I'm sorry, I had to send it this way. I had no idea how to use Google Doc. And this, I'm talking about students in the United States, in New Jersey. They have no idea how to use Google Doc. I also have students who have never ever heard of LinkedIn. They have no idea. And those are students in communication, in public relations. When you think they should at least have some basic understanding, they don't. Unless they're being taught by professors, they have no idea. So that is not the reason for us as educators that we need to embrace this, so that we can become role models for our students, so that we can teach them, right? So here are, those are the 5 reasons. And just a quick recap. The first one that educators need to embrace live streaming is to build a global network, to enrich classroom discussions. Number 2, to become a thought leader, to diversify your income streams, to generate more income and more impact. And number 3 is to enhance student engagement and to improve learning outcomes. Number 4 is to bridge the gap between academia and industry. And number 5 is to really help our students develop very important 21st century skills. So those are the 5 reasons. I hope you really benefit from this. I invite you to join my live streaming show every Wednesday and every Friday. And one show focuses on social media marketing and the other show focuses on education. So if you are an educator, the second show is perfect for you. We discuss, debate, and disrupt education. The goal is to future-proof the next generation. I have some really amazing guests on my show: Seth Golden, Mark Schaefer, Kathy Hackle, Winnie Swin, and Neil Patel, and so many amazing people have come to my show. I encourage you to join my global classroom. And also, if you have any question, if you're interested in learning more about reinventing your career, and feel free to message me. And let me share my screen again. I believe this is the my last slide. So that's my contact information, AI@classroomwithout walls. You can connect with me on social media. My handle is the same everywhere as AIADDYSONZHANG on all the different social media platforms. So I hope this presentation is beneficial to you. And I hope you can send me a message, at least take a screenshot right now. And if you really enjoyed listening to this talk, please let me know. And I want to hear from you and connect with me on social. And I hope to see you at any of my live streaming shows in the near future. Take care.